I want to share something pretty intimate in the fact that I struggled.
Welcome to Focus Focus. Voices leading change.
Coaches need coaching. Last week, Russell, myself, Courtney and Ashley, we went to a strategy meeting held by the Tauranga Chamber of Commerce, and we were involved in that session so that we could look at some critical aspects to continue to scale a business, and a large part of it is around focusing on strategy. It gave us a good amount of time for us to distill down exactly what we do. That's important to understand actually all the parts, all the moving parts that are going, and then also to actually see a model where we can continue to evolve what it looks like on a strategy level, or either organizational strategy or a strategy as in growth and scale strategy. It was a nice opportunity to drill down into those aspects and really get some clarity around what was needed for us to advance or move forward. There was also a really cool business owner in there who was building in a roofing using technology in this space, and it was really powerful to actually throw ideas around on the table with aspects around the commonalities in business and what that actually meant. But what really stuck out to me is that we as coaches, if we go in, which we view ourselves in a way of working and mentoring, is that we need coaching ourselves. That is an important factor. So I want to go back to actually my time with the Warriors when I went up and watched them train, and I listened to Webby speak. And one of the things that really stood out to me was that he actually went and looked after Ivan Cleary's house over the Christmas New Year window. So Ivan Cleary is the coach of the Panthers. Obviously, they're exceptionally successful. The Warriors blew it by letting go of Ivan many years ago, and obviously his son Nathan Cleary, who's now probably a living immortal. But in that situation there, what really stood out to me is that Ivan Cleary, who is arguably the best coach right now, if not will become the greatest coach in the game of rugby league, it has an involvement with one of his proteges who is now running a rival team. That stood out to me in the fact that Webby recognises that Ivan is exceptionally good in building whatever it is he believes he has built with the Panthers and how he can replicate that. He has a window or a channel for himself to lean into and to go in and figure out, hey, how did you approach that? How did you deal with that? What's your thoughts on that? How can I implement that into our team? And that was actually a real standout moment for me, which I was incredibly impressed. Although that is not foreign to me. A lifetime ago, I actually coached weightlifting for a long time and was fortunate enough to coach into representative levels in New Zealand, and ultimately ended up being part of the coaching team for the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. It's fascinating when we went to world events, junior worlds and things, where I actually went along and watched the worlds in 2017 in Anaheim, and I made sure to go and talk to other coaches and figure out what it was that allowed me to improve as a coach. So in anything, results matter. That's the first part to really look at. An easy indicator that you are doing something of note is that the people you are working with are improving their results. Now, in a business sense, the results could be a whole range of factors. It could be really strong retention of staff. It could be, obviously, in our business, would be like an occupancy piece. It could be revolving around their staff well-being and how well they feel in terms of fulfillment and purpose. Any level of measurable outcome that allows, or result that allows us to reflect back on our approach in that coaching and mentor role is quite critical. But to add value to that as a starter in the results is having a coach over the top that allows you to come in with, and they've got that objective approach to see the result, and then tell you what your impact was in that space. B, what was placebo? So because of the environment you built, because of result A, result B came through because of that as a placebo effect. And obviously C being, hey, this is where you could probably improve the next time, and this is how I've approached that situation. How do you think you'd approach that? We've teamed up with Quest Mount Maunganui to bring our listeners an epic deal. Use promo code MOUNTY for an extra 5% discount when you book direct. Plus, if you book via the Quest app, website, email, phone, or walk-in, you'll earn one Air Points dollar per $40 spent and go in the monthly draw to win your stay back. I think that's a really key part to having a great coach / mentor. The second part, outside of results, comes from your own fulfillment and your own understanding of what your weaknesses are that you need to work on. This part is actually quite a real passion area for me. I believe that you've got to have a real strong self-awareness of what's going on in that space to really figure out, hey, if I'm aware of that part that really lets me down, then I need to make sure that I address that. A good example in my prior life of being principal and in other aspects is that sometimes my energy overwhelms people. And although people love passion and the energy and, oh man, Ray delivers in that way and he's so hyped up and energetic, for some people that is too much, and that can actually compound the issues that are going on in people's heads when it comes to their coaching roles with their teams. And for some people, I need to recognize that that is not the right approach. But that only got pointed out to me when I turned up into spaces and I had coaches and mentors over the top of me that were saying, hey, saw how that went down. 90% of people loved that. 8% of people were okay with it, but there's a 2% over there that really struggle with it, and they're actually your critical components for the success of your project. So you need to figure out how you approach them without that high energy level, because it's very hard for that 8% and that 2% to distill down exactly what we're talking about. I liken it in my own sense to being the excited Labrador puppy that gets hyped up about food all the time. It doesn't matter what food, what time it is. It doesn't matter if I've had a meal an hour earlier. I get hyped up about the food if there's more food that comes out. And no matter how many times I get told to go away from my family, when I'm sitting there as the excitable puppy ready to get some food from the whānau that's sitting there dropping food on the floor for me to eat, that energy is often overwhelming. And because I lacked self-awareness in the past, that became an issue. Another part that was pointed out to me when observing what was going on was having the ability to have quality dialogue that allows absolute idea meritocracy. Ideas must win, is what Steve Jobs said. He said, when asked, do you just win all the arguments? That was literally a question because of who Steve Jobs was as an individual. And he was a hyped up Labrador puppy in many, many ways. But the reality is, in the interview, which you can find on YouTube, he actually said, ideas must win. If you go and hire great or brilliant people and you don't let their ideas come through, you will lose them. And that is the beauty of having a mentor and a coach over the top that allows you as the trainee essentially to have the feedback from that coach or mentor, and it allows that dialogue to continue to happen, to even slow down some of the dialogue in some directions so that we can head in other directions and hear the opinions and voices of what's going on, so that an idea meritocracy actually exists. Because the real challenge, especially one thing that I've really struggled with, is if you are in a high leadership position, quite often the suggestions you make in the minds of your team members often become commands in their head. Ray is suggesting this, however, some of your teammates might be like, oh, Ray wants that to actually happen. And I've had to make sure I really distilled that down by removing some of the energy and hype, but also having people in places, and this is where Courtney's actually been amazing for me as well, to just ensure that my voice isn't just the overpowering voice in that setting, and also having that mentor to recognize and help build the self-awareness piece around you so that you know that sometimes your strength is also a weakness. I think the last part too, and this is a really important part to me, I think in my experience working with a lot of people, you've got to have someone who will absolutely highlight or tell you that you need to celebrate your success. I want to share something pretty intimate in the fact that I struggled with what success meant because there was a part of me in my own head that was an imposter syndrome, and I built out every single reason and excuse as to why I'm actually not deserving of celebrating this success. And Brené Brown talks to this about foreboding joy. How it applied to me in that sense, and even now where I'm thinking through it, and I've gotten way past it, but there was such an element in me that would not accept success because I just found ways of playing down what it was. Oh, we've had success because of A, B, C, D. Oh, we had good luck. Oh, the timing was right. Oh, they didn't hire that person, so they went to them, and that person's really brilliant. Oh, they got more of this or got more of that, or blah, blah, blah. And those were the stories that used to go on in my head about that. And it took me a long time to actually figure out how to celebrate my own success. And it is something that I am now very good with. But if I hadn't had some mentors reach out to me, and in one particular, which is Uncle Jody, who told me, bro, you don't celebrate enough. When you kick goals, tick it off, celebrate it. Make sure you drill down into the success, because if you don't stop and enjoy it, and smell the roses, it'll just whiz by you, and actually you'll probably miss the lessons that it's also wanting to teach you. But also it allows your people to stop and stand back and say, yeah, I'm part of that. Yes, I am part of implementing that or doing that, or that's why we've had that success, or that's why we've done this. And I am proud of myself that I do not have an issue now with celebrating success. But it took a mentor, a person close to me that understood me and had an objective view on me in terms of what we were doing, to be able to coach me into a position to say, Ray, it is important that you celebrate success. And I really want business owners to take hold of that part. That's got to be part of your strategy. That's got to be part of your organizational strategy. You've got to go around regularly and often and celebrate successes, small successes, big ones, and make sure that we let people know that they're doing a great job, especially yourself. And you've got to make sure that that is built into yourself. If it's not, if that's something you really struggle with, then I encourage you to go out and seek out a mentor in that space that will allow you to ensure that your success is celebrated. I just want to end on one major thing, and that is in that factor around success. Successes only come out of tough times. I have spoken about that. And you've got to figure out and understand when you're in the grind, when you're on the floor, really trying to figure out, how do we make this work? How do we actually eke out what we're trying to achieve? That it is going to come from tough times. So having that mentor in that space to really be a person to fall back on and lean on, and have that kind of coaching aspect and have that mentorship aspect is paramount. And I encourage everyone who's in that space who's in the space of leadership to ensure that you've got someone that you can reach out to, and make sure that they are a person who carries a level of objectivity. They won't just be an echo chamber. They are someone that will actually tell you the truth no matter what it is that they have to say. And ultimately, they will celebrate the great things that you are going to do for your people and your community. Up the wires. Vegas 2025.